In this video, I'm going to help you eliminate corporate anxiety and burnout for good. This is something I personally struggled with for a while. In a past life, I was a high performer, a six-figure earner. I was leading projects and training teams, and I was running ragged. Y'all, I was constantly moving, constantly worried about the next thing, the next day. But I was thugging it out. I'm a hustler, y'all, until I got sick. And I was in and out of the hospital for months in this highly coveted, high salaried position that I had. Decided to part ways. And once I re-entered into the workforce about a year ago, it'll be a year in September, I found myself really falling into the same cycles and patterns of overwhelm and anxiety and stress. And it was really eating at me to the point where I started breaking down into tears some days because I was just so afraid of getting sick again. I'm like, I can't go through this again. I can't get sick again. I was terrified of falling into the same cycles, and I didn't know what to do. But I knew I had to take my power back. And in this video, I'm going to show you what I did to do just that. These are going to be the 3 most powerful things that are going to take you from struggling and stressed and anxious constantly to honestly cruising. I'm not gonna lie, I don't do too much at my job. I'm not too overworked, and I'm still doing the same type of high quality, high level work that I was doing before, if not more. I'm training people currently, I'm assisting with other departments, and I'm fine. And that is a blessing to be able to say. I want to give you this information so that you can experience the same transformation I got to. And this very first piece is fundamental. This is at the core of quite literally everything that I teach and that I'm going to be talking about, okay? And it is that you are not the only one who can do it. Plain and simple. It is not your job, it is not your responsibility to bear the burden of the entire team or department on your shoulders. That's not what you're here for. That's not what you get paid to do. That's not your responsibility. No, don't do that. And I know that saying no at work is, at this point, pretty much a taboo subject. And we're going to talk about how to effectively and I guess appropriately do that in the workplace later on in this video, but I need you to understand, at the very least, you are allowed to say no. You don't have to do it. You don't have to take on other people's work. You don't have to take on other people's responsibility. You don't have to do work that is outside of your scope and outside of your roles and responsibility. I want you to do this for me. I want you to do something for me. Close your eyes and imagine a stray dog, an aggressive stray dog that is just barking and attacking anything in its sight, and it is damn near foaming at the mouth like this thing is mean. And you step outside of your door and you see that same stray dog. I don't know about you, I'm going back inside. I'm going back inside. I live here now. No, this is my final destination. I'm sorry, no. Now imagine you see that same dog, but it's chained up to a fence or a tree. That dog starts to become a bit less relevant. Like, I'm not really thinking about you. I'm gonna walk across the street because you're still a little loud and aggressive and things could happen and you could break loose and I don't know, but it's a lot less relevant. Now imagine if that same dog was in a cage. It's completely a non-factor now. It can't do anything to you. Now imagine your job is that dog. That's your dog. And you're letting it run around and terrorize the entire neighborhood and run amok, and it just dictates your every move because you are too afraid to do something or to do anything, and it's just right there outside of your door, and I'm not safe. That's your dog. If you don't train that dog, if you don't put a leash on it, if you don't put it down, put a muzzle on it, and if you're an animal person and this has offended you, don't lose the point though. Don't lose the point though. The whole purpose of the analogy is that you are not subservient to your position. It's a pet. The dog is a pet. And I understand that is not an easy concept. Like I just said earlier, I am working in multiple departments, or I just offboarded a bunch of work that I was doing to assist another department. I am the only analyst in my department. I am one of few analysts in my entire company. And still, that is not my job. I am very comfortable telling my manager, no. Oh, I don't have the bandwidth for this. Right? I don't teach that. Again, there's caveats to just flat out saying no. And so there's easier ways to do it, but you got to be able to do that, and that you can't take on everybody's responsibility. As long as you continue doing that, you will continue to be stressed and overworked and overburdened. Don't take on other people's work. Don't take on responsibility that's not your own, unless you want to. And the next part is advocate for yourself in your work. What does that even mean to advocate? What does that mean to be an advocate? I am an advocate for women's reproductive rights. I support my ability to do what I want with my body, and I would like to protect my autonomy. And so that essentially is what advocacy is all about. It's about protection and support. And so that's what you're doing when you're advocating for yourself at work. But what you're really advocating for is your time and your energy, because that is what's being most drained from you when you're at work. That's what you're being paid for. You're paid for your time and your energy. They're paying for that, and they're sucking it from you, and they're taking it, honey. Take it back. And so the way that you want to do that is you want to focus on how you are onboarding and offboarding work. This is really two sides of the same coin, but what this does is this is essentially a system for you to build and maintain a manageable workload. And so we're going to first talk about onboarding tasks. If you're watching this video, you are probably overdone with work. You are probably overloaded with responsibility, and there's something new every day. This is the way that you're going to manage that. The first thing to understand about onboarding work or doing any type of work is that you're not taking commands. This isn't give command, take command. It's not, hey, I need you to go do this, and you be like, all right, boss. But that's how a lot of us operate. That's not how it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be a conversation. And that's the first thing to understand when it comes to advocating for yourself. And when you are having that conversation, there are two things you want to make sure you keep in mind. It's one, do I have the bandwidth for this? Two, what is the objective of this? So the first part, do you have the bandwidth for this? This is the most important part. Well, they're both equally important. I'm not going to say that. They are both very important parts. But this is incredibly important for your time and your energy, for your sanity. Because if you don't have the bandwidth, if I don't have the bandwidth, I can't take it on. I can't get this all done today. Especially in my job, they don't even allow overtime. We're not even allowed to take overtime. So you want to stress me out and put everything on top of me and have me try to figure everything out in 40 hours? No, I don't have the bandwidth for this. So here's a great way for you to start this conversation. And the best way for you to do this is really just to ask a question. So the conversation probably goes a little something like this. Hey, Yaya, can you get X report out for me? When do you need it by? Thursday. Okay, so I'm already working on this analysis, X report, this proposal for this team, whatever, right? Should this take priority over that? And that's really it. It's really that simple. Should this take priority over these things? Because I'm not going to be able to get this done on Thursday. I have this amount of time available to me. This is what I'm already working on. This is the time that I have left to do it. Based on what you need from me, I don't have the bandwidth to get all of this done by Thursday and still effectively get the other things that I have on my plate, because this is also due and everything else has to already still be done. And that is how you open up the conversation, and you put the onus back on them. And their job as the manager is to allocate the resources. That is quite literally the main task of any manager, is to manage the human capital. Like, we have X amount of hours that we can allocate to new projects, so let's divvy that up between the team and things like that. That is their responsibility. So don't stress yourself out of trying to figure out, oh, how am I going to get everything done and get this done, and now I'm missing this deadline and I'm late for this meeting and I have to push this back. And no, you are overloaded and overbearing your mind unnecessarily. Make them tell you how to do it. Make them tell you what to prioritize, because they're the one giving you all the work anyway. And so that is the way to do it, essentially. And it's like, I have these top priorities going on. I have these deadlines coming up. I'm not going to be able to sufficiently get this done if I also take care of these. Should this take priority? If not, if they say no, if this is not a more important task or project, oh, I don't have the bandwidth for this. I don't have the capacity to take this on right now. Or I don't have the ability to take this on and give it to you by Thursday, but I got you Friday. Or I can give it to you Monday morning. It's a conversation. It's not give command, take command. It's not, okay, boss, yeah, I got you. I got it by Friday. I'll give it to you on Thursday. And then I'm over here stressed and struggling and working late and trying to figure everything out. And like, I'm racking my brain and not getting any sleep. No. No. You don't do that. And I'm not going to let you do that. The other part is to understand the objective. This is equally important, because I'm not the type to do busy work. Don't give me unnecessary, irrelevant task that does not move the needle. Don't give me menial work to do. I'm not that kind of, don't waste my time, right? I don't want to be I don't want to have my time wasted. I'm sure you don't want to have your time wasted. I value doing impactful work. I want to do high level work. So for me, it is imperative to understand the objective of the work that I'm doing. And later on in this video, I'm going to explain that also. But what this also does is it gives you clarity and understanding of the impact of your work, but it also tells you what you need to do. It also gives you very clear understanding of what your output is going to be, what it's supposed to look like, and what the use case is for, which makes your job so much easier, because you don't have to go back and forth of doing a bunch of iterations or saying something was wrong, or like not having a clear understanding of what the objective and the goal is, of what we're even trying to accomplish as a team or as a department. Why am I doing this? What do you need this proposal for? What's the objective of this proposal? What am I even looking into? Like, why? And you're allowed to ask why. And they should be able to tell you why. And if they can't, then they're a bad manager. And you should say that. Maybe don't say that. But they are a bad manager, because you should be able to tell me why we're making a decision. There should be a clear, objective line of decision making that led to you telling me to do this thing, so that I know what me doing this thing is going to impact and lead to. Because I'm not just sitting here twiddling my thumbs all day. Why did you hire me? What are we doing? Right? So that's the important part of onboarding a task, onboarding work. So the next piece is offboarding a task, right? That's the other side. The other side of this coin is offboarding task, right? Because you can't just let shit pile on top and pile on top and pile on top and pile on top, right? And we're always going to have continuous projects and pivots and things that get put down and picked back up, and things are always constantly moving. Eventually, if you let the work pile on top, that the little molehill start to become a mountain, and you just got this giant mountain of work in front of you, and you can't do shit about it because you just kept letting it add on and pile on top. You got to offboard some of that work, because eventually what's going to happen is a lot of that work is going to become irrelevant. A lot of it is going to become, or as time goes on, it loses visibility, because people aren't paying attention to it as much, because it loses relevancy. So it's important to regularly practice this. Is this an important task for me to be doing? And that is simply how you start the conversation with your manager, right? Again, this is all a conversation. So to offboard work, you're going to go to your direct supervisor or whatever and just say, hey, is this something we're still prioritizing? Is this something we're still looking into? Is this something we still want to study and track? Like, it's as simple as that. Like, just ask the question. And really, that's what I teach all the time is frame everything as a question. That is honestly the easiest way to deflect, essentially. I don't know a better word for it, but that is kind of the easiest way to have a meaningful conversation without kind of like triggering someone, right? Because I'm not making definitive statements. I'm not being like as a matter of fact as like I typically would. Like I'm just asking a question, bro. I was just asking, right? And you can always just sort of like defend yourself that way. I was just asking, right? So like you sort of take the onus off of you. Like the pressure isn't as much on you. That's so if ever you want to give feedback or give pushback or something like that, the best way to do it is to frame it as a question. And so this is the best way to do that as well. And when you're trying to offboard work, you want to frame it as a question. Is this something we're still tracking? Is this something that's still a priority? Is this something that still matters? Is this still relevant? Do you want me to still work on this? You can ask that. And that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be offensive or disrespectful. Like I said, I'm training teams right now, or I'm training a small team of people, and I cannot tell you, it's happened a couple of times. It hasn't happened that often, but there's been a couple of times where I'll give an assignment, we're tracking something for a couple of weeks, right? Like I do my analysis and we're done and we're on to the next thing. And I forget. We're on to the next thing. I got so much going on. I got a lot of different projects. It's like, all right, cool, that's done. And sometimes I forget to communicate to the other people that like this piece of the project is done because I forgot. And so literally that happened just the other week. And one of the women that I was training, she was like, hey, she actually was continuing the analysis and she was like, hey, this is what I've been finding, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, you're still working on that? So yeah, it's important to do that. It's important to try to have a conversation and communicate, especially because they're not you. They don't know what your work is. Like just in that example that I gave, I have my own work that I have going on. I have my own projects that I'm working on, helping in and leading. Like there's a bunch of things, bunch of moving pieces, and there's always going to be a lot of moving pieces, right? So how do you manage that? And the best way to manage that is to know, one, that you are the driver of your work. You are the driver of your day. You walk the dog, not the other way around. It doesn't walk you. The dog doesn't know when to eat or when it's time to go for a walk. It needs to be trained. So you need to train people on your working style, how to treat you, how to talk to you, things like that. And so this is really just a part of that. And so advocating for yourself, offboarding work is a part of advocating for yourself. And it's simply just, do we still need to do that? And if they say yes, then you should be able to ask, what's the objective? Again, it is incredibly imperative to understand the impact of your work. I've created entire presentations on like the power of why in the workplace. Okay, it is paramount to understand the objective of why you're doing what you're doing, why you were asked to do what you're doing. What does this even do? What does this information feed into? What does this impact? Who's even looking at this? What is this for? You have the right to ask that. You're allowed to ask that, and they should be able to tell you. They should be able to answer the question, because if you are doing things that are just busy work, if you're just over here twiddling your thumbs, you are not effective. You're not doing anything, and they're not effectively managing you or the team or the department. Nothing is getting done if I'm wasting my time. I can't do my job if I'm over here being bogged down doing inefficient things. So that is how you advocate for yourself and advocate for your work, is simply have a conversation. Allow things to be a conversation. Don't take command, don't give command, take command. That's not how this works. It'll always be a question. It'll always be a conversation, and it should always be a conversation. You're not a slave. And then this last piece, I would say this is kind of like the nail in the coffin. Like this is ting, like this is how you gonna kill him with this one, okay? And this is the easiest part too. This is the easiest part that everyone always forgets to do. Get feedback. That's it. Follow up. When you finish a task, a project, a proposal, whatever, an analysis, whatever, you turn something in and output, ask for feedback on it. That's it. Give it a couple days, give it a week, however long you want to take. I mean, not that long, but ask for feedback. Simply say, hey, how did you like this? Was there anything that you didn't understand? Was there anything that you want to see changed or added or updated or incorporated or whatever? Get feedback. Because really what this does is this helps provide for you the ultimate leverage, not just at work, but like in the marketplace as a whole. This is the way to build your resume. This is what you're going to start like tallying up in like a separate list or somewhere like on your work computer with like all of your feedback and all of like the positive things that people say about you in your work. That's the things that are going to help push the needle and move and drive things forward when you're trying to have conversations about promotions and raises and making lateral moves to different organizations. Like that is the crux of it. Again, this is why it's so important to understand what your impact is. If you know your impact, you know the value that you add at work, you know the value that you add in the marketplace, you know the value that you add to an organization, you know the skill sets that you have, you know the impact that your work has driven. Like that is incredibly important to know and to have insight on, because you'll be able to speak to it, and that's powerful. And when you are able to build on that power, you are able to grab that power, that does a lot, and that makes a huge difference. And now with all of this information, you are able to control, you are able to take back your power, you are able to maintain your frame while you are at work, because you're not taking on more work than necessary. You're not being overburdened and overloaded with unnecessary tasks and work, because that's not even my responsibility. And even though I'm the only analyst in this department, that's not my job, and that's never been my job, and I'm not going to make that my job now, because that's too much. So no, I don't have the bandwidth for that. And I'm able to advocate for myself, and I can onboard and offboard tasks, and I can manage my workload in a way that works best for me, because I'm able to have a conversation with people. I'm able to communicate my availability, my needs, and my resources where I'm at right now. And then after I do all of that, I just get feedback. And that's it. That's literally it. How did you like what I did? Did you like it? Didn't you like it? Like, that's really it. And I do that every day. And that is really it. And I keep saying that's really it. So hopefully it sounded simple enough, but it really is simple enough, especially once you start getting into the regular practice of it. And so I want to make sure I came back and I emphasized this point, because I don't think I said it or said it all the way. But when you are gathering feedback, the main thing that you want to make sure you focus on is the usefulness of your output. That's what you want. Like, everything is great, but like the most important thing is, was this useful to you? And if so, how was it useful to you? That is where you really start to see the impact of your work and the decisions that your work drives. And that's how you build the leverage. I hope you take this video to heart. You spend so much of your time and energy at your job. Don't let it consume you. Don't let it torture you. Put it on a leash. It's a pet. Treat it like a pet.